Genesis 3:0. So if you're into dysfunctional families, Genesis 30 is the chapter for you. Genesis 29, it ends with Leah giving Jacob 4 sons. And so Rachel, the wife that he loved, the woman he was trying to marry, is barren at this point. But God saw that Leah was unloved. It's Genesis 29:31. And he opened her womb. She gives Jacob 4 sons. So Genesis 30 starts off with Rachel going to Jacob and say, give me sons, give me children or I die. And Jacob says, I'm not in the place of God. I can't open your womb for you. Ask him. So Rachel gives her servant Bilhah to Jacob as a surrogate wife, and she produces 2 children of her own. When Leah realized that she had stopped bearing children, she gave her servant to Jacob, Zilpah, and she started producing children for Jacob in Leah's stead. Then there's this weird story about mandrakes that's just better read than for me to explain it to you. It's unusual because I don't think we have anything like this in our culture. So you just got to read it for yourself. But Leah, Jacob sleeps with Leah again, and she produces more children. And then in verse 22, because Jacob at this point has 10 sons and 1 daughter, and verse 22, it says, God took note of Rachel's prayer. He heeded her prayer and he made her fertile. So he opened her womb and she gives birth to Joseph. Then Jacob asks his father-in-law, whom he's been working for this whole time, hey, you need to send me on my way. Like my group has gotten large. God has blessed me. And so send me back to where I come from. Send me back to my country. Laban protests. He's like, look, the Lord has blessed me because of you and your work. So name your wages. Just stay with me a little bit longer. You tell me what you will work for. Name your wages and I'll pay it. Jacob says, all right, every speckled and spotted goat in your fold belongs to me. And that way you'll be able to tell if I cheated you. If you find a purebred, a pure white or pure black goat in my fold, then you'll know that I stole it from you. And that will be the accountability for my wages. So that very day, Laban removes all speckled and spotted goats and all speckled, spotted, brown sheep that were going to be Jacob's wages. He removes them from his sheepfold, and his sons, Laban's sons, take them a couple days' journey away. So Jacob starts with nothing. Like he's made an agreement with Laban as far as what his wages are, and then Laban takes all those away, and so that Jacob can't get to him. So then Jacob does this interesting thing with branches, and when the animals would come to the trough and they would mate, and he essentially cut these branches, and somehow they produce speckled and spotted goats. In the strong goats and strong sheep produced the wages that Jacob would receive. And then if they were weak goats, Jacob would take the branches away and they would produce either white or black sheep or goats or whatever. And so that way, essentially, the strong ones were going to go to Jacob and the weak ones were going to go to Laban. So what Laban did to Jacob to be conniving and to cheat Jacob basically did the same thing. He was like, well, I'm not going to start with nothing. I'm going to take the strongest from your flock since you cheated me. And that's where chapter 30 ends. The more feeble, the weaker sheep and goats belonged to Laban because of how Jacob was handling the breeding of these sheep and goats. It's an interesting chapter. Go read it. Comment below. Let me know what you think.